Number 10, Cosmic Ghost Rider. What happens when Frank Castle becomes a Ghost Rider just as planet Earth is dying and there is no one left to avenge? Well, you get the brilliant and insane Cosmic Ghost Rider. This version of Frank Castle ended up teaming up with Galactus originally in order to try and take on Thanos, who threatened the existence of all life at the time as he tried to win the heart of Mistress Death. In the end, no one was left to serve but Thanos, and Cosmic Ghost Rider was driven mad by loneliness and heartbreak and being unable to die. So he eventually ended up joining Thanos anyways. He is as powerful as he is insane at this point and is a frighteningly cheerful version of Frank Castle, especially considering all of the horrors he's witnessed, especially when he was serving Thanos. Did some pretty bad stuff. Number 9, Annihilus. Annihilus is a somewhat lost being who was created in the negative zone on a planet known as Athros. He evolved from life spores that were left there and ended up mutating and growing to be a highly intelligent insectoid-like life form. He has been an enemy and ally to the Fantastic Four, depending on the circumstances, and he also once almost took over Asgard, managing to take on the Asgardian soldiers and even beat Thor. Thankfully, Odin stopped him before he could succeed. Poor Annihilus, I feel like he's so lost in life. Really needs a stronger purpose. Number 8, Iowa the Mungazoth. Hope I'm saying that right. Known as the Lord of Darkness, Iowa the Mungazoth is called upon in an issue of Creatures on the Loose from the 70s. This cosmic eldritch god-like entity could also be tied to the many-angled ones, who occasionally crop up in the Marvelverse. But we don't have enough information to really know whether or not for sure if Iowa the Mungazoth is a separate entity or simply one that we've maybe already met but is operating under a different name, under some kind of alias. He is one of the gods referred to in the comic by the High Priest of the Dragon King, known as Sa. Sa, in the story, aims to make 3 human sacrifices in order to give the energy to the Lords of Chaos that they need so that they may travel across the cosmos to Earth. Sounds like a bad idea. Sounds like you probably don't want the Lords of Chaos to come by, but you know, to each their own. I guess if you're the High Priest of the Dragon King, you do. That's what you want. I'm not here to judge. Number 7, God Quarry. In 2016's Thanos series, there's a place known as the God Quarry. It is a pit guarded by 3 eternal witches, known as the Coven. The pit is said to reward those who can overcome its challenges by granting them with great power. But first, you must face whatever it is that could potentially be holding you back. Once in the pit, you find yourself merged within it, becoming a part of it, and then you begin to see what it is that could most tempt you. For me, it would probably be a big pile of cookies. For many leaders who have come there seeking power, the temptation was too great and they could not escape. Instead, now a part of the pit, they remain trapped for eternity. But hey, with great risk comes great reward. And yeah, Thanos did have to go in that pit. And what happens? You're gonna have to read the series. I don't want to spoil it. Number 6, the Universal Church of Truth. Almost a misnomer, the Universal Church of Truth is not as innocent as it sounds. It is made up of believers from planets throughout the universe who worship the evil being known as Magus. The church invades planets, and if the planet's inhabitants refuse to accept and adopt their faith, they will burn it to the ground, killing anyone who refuses to join them. They're basically like a really insane cult that invades, converts, and conquers planets. So yeah, they sound better than they are. Number 5, Phalanx. I'm not actually sure what is more scary, the Phalanx or the race they're believed to come from, the Technarchy. The Phalanx's main goal is to eventually conquer and assimilate, so to speak, the entire universe. Now, how do they do this? As a technological race, they use a virus known as the techno-organic virus to infect the planets they come across and eventually use it to devour all organic life there and consume all information on the planet. This virus is the same as the one that Cable is infected with, or well, it's similar. He is sort of a variation or an evolution of the virus that they use. But they're both techno-organic viruses, just not like completely identical. Number 4, Dormammu. An evil cosmic being, Dormammu is one of the most powerful foes in the Marvel Universe. Up until Thanos truly revealed himself, and maybe even after Thanos came to full Infinity Gauntlet power, really, Dormammu was the most powerful foe that we'd seen in the MCU. And odds are good he'll return at some point, given how powerful he is in the Marvelverse in regards to the comics. He's attempted to depose the Celestials, and at one point even tried to take on Eternity. Even if he didn't fare so well, just the idea idea of taking on eternity is a big, scary deal. Eternity basically embodies the entirety of Earth 616 and is only surpassed in terms of authority by the living tribunal. So yeah, pretty serious business if you're taking on eternity. That entity, I wouldn't want to mess with it. Number 3, Shumagorath. Shumagorath is one of the Great Old Ones and Many Angled Ones, basically a Marvel version of an Elder God. Like Dormammu, he is also known as being one of the Lords of Chaos. Although it's been unclear throughout the comic lore to tell if there are truly multiple Lords of Chaos or just one Lord who keeps being renamed throughout, this Many Angled One is known for being one of the oldest entities in the Marvel Universe. He has returned to Earth many times and set up as god there, being worshipped even on Earth before the sinking of Atlantis, where he demanded blood sacrifices. Sounds familiar. Sounds like someone else we heard of earlier. Are they the same person? Maybe. I don't know. Number 2, the Brood. These aliens are insectoid beings who reproduce through finding hosts on other planets whom they can implant with their offspring. Great, right? Do we love that? Yeah, basically, you get the picture. It's kind of like Alien, except instead of something bursting out of you, it hatches and then completely takes you over, inside and out. Basically possessing your mind and your body and then just killing you in the process, so you're really no longer there. The Brood don't just do this to survive though, they actually enjoy the terror and horror that they cause among other species. They enjoy hurting and frightening others. It doesn't bother them, and to them it's even pleasant or amusing. Yeah, so scary. Number 1, Cancerverse. While the Cancerverse is an alternate Marvel universe, much of what we see of it involves a cosmic presence. Most of the important goings-ons in regards to stories involving it happen in outer space. The Cancerverse is a world where there is no death. Sounds nice, right? Think again. Without death to provide balance to the world, life was left without anything to hold it back, and as a result became a wild and evil thing, transforming into something like an eldritch god or a monster. This all came to pass because the original Captain Marvel made a deal with the Many Angled Ones in exchange for them curing him of his cancer. The Many Angled Ones themselves is also pretty horrific. So.
Number 10, Magus. The evil side of Adam Warlock, Magus' story is a complex one filled with general cosmic confusion, but I'll simplify. Basically, Magus is an evil alternate future version of Adam Warlock, who was created to oppose Thanos. He got bumped around through time and found himself educated by chaos and order. He used what he learned as principles to build his own faith and his own church, going on to use this burgeoning religion to fuel a holy war which would rage throughout the cosmos. Pretty impressive. He later wreaked havoc with an army of evil doppelgangers of all of the heroes, who even proved too much for Thanos originally to handle. You know you're serious when Thanos is like, whoa, jeez, ooh. Number 9, the Beyonder. The one we know as Beyonder is in fact only a young member of a group of others known as such. Beyonders. The Beyonder is a mysterious cosmic being who came to our Earth and found himself obsessed with the fact that everyone on Earth was only a part of themselves and incomplete, as he realized there were many different alternate universes in which they all seemed to also live. He was the one responsible for creating the first battle world in the original Secret Wars event, where he pitted heroes and villains against one another. He is known for his ability to manipulate reality, and for his apparent limitless power when it comes to his mental and physical strength. In other words, you don't mess with the Beyonder messes with you. Number 8, Parallax. Parallax is basically an intergalactic fear parasite, but he kinda wasn't always such. Originally, Parallax was simply evil Hal Jordan. DC had likely turned him evil to get rid of him while Kyle Rayner took over as the Green Lantern, brought in to help refresh Green Lantern comics, and reignite some sales for the series. It wasn't until much later that we would find out that the evil actions of Hal were not his fault, really, and that he was under the influence of a parasite whose name he had adopted at that time, Parallax. It turned out that this cosmic being had been imprisoned within the central power battery on Oa, where willpower was being used to contain it. The Guardians of the Universe knew this, but they decided to keep it a secret for fear that, someone would release the entity. In the end, Sinestro was the one who awakened it after being trapped in the battery himself. I mean, probably a bad move to trap him in there, to be honest. With like a fear parasite. I feel like you're already seeing that's probably not going to go well. His hatred of Hal Jordan turned Parallax onto Hal. Parallax worked for years to increase Hal's inner fear and self-doubt, and even was responsible for turning the hair around his temples white. Yeah, fun fact, that was Parallax. Now you know. and knowledge is power. Number 7. Brainiac. Brainiac is a famous villain known for shrinking the city of Kandor on Superman's homeworld of Krypton. He comes from the planet Kolu. He is brilliant but also fairly weak when it comes to, swinging punches. In one iteration, he could not even leave his spaceship for fear of being killed from all the diseases and illnesses on planet Earth's surface, as his immune system was low when it came to Earthborne illnesses. As time has progressed, however, Brainiac moved from being a lesser-known cosmic plot device to a bona fide supervillain. He even at one point attempted to strengthen himself dramatically after finding out his current body was dying. Brainiac plotted to possess Doomsday's body as his own. While this plot was eventually foiled, for a time this merging of Brainiac's mind and Doomsday's body made him one of the most powerful beings in the universe. For a little while. Fortunately, it all got foiled. Dang it. Too powerful. Number 6. Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force is both a terrifying and kind cosmic entity. The terror it induces, in fact, really only exists because it is so powerful, and often many are unable to contain its power, eventually becoming corrupted and evil as a result. The Phoenix Force itself, however, has often seemed selective in regards to who would grant power to, although it did seem like not super picky when it bonded with Thanos' son Thane, who was just about to die at the time. I don't really know why else it picked Thane. I guess Thane's kinda cool. Is he cool? I don't know. You let me know in the comments. Do you think Thane is cool? The Phoenix itself has seemed to always prefer Jean Grey as a host when it has the option, but it will settle for others who it feels has a certain amount of potential. The Phoenix has always allowed its hosts insanely destructive powers. If used for such, it has been known to destroy entire planets. There's a lot of planet destroyers in the cosmos I'm noticing. I'm noticing a pattern. Number 5. Anti-Monitor. Anti-Monitor represents everything antimatter and evil. There are a few different stories that explain where he comes from, but in essence, his existence is tied to the multiverse. Both he and his heroic counterpart Monitor are in fact tied to the multiverse themselves. Anti-Monitor has been shown as a comic villain who strives to end all of the alternate worlds within DC, and he and the Monitor are often referred to as the ones who shook everything up dramatically for us in the DC comic book world, originally during the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline. Anti-Monitor has been perceived as one of the most unstoppable foes the DC heroes have encountered when it comes to his powers. He has reality warping powers, which he used to remove Psycho Pirate's face, and he can absorb the energy around him, even managing to use this ability to suck dry entire universes. Not just worlds, entire universes! He's like, I'll take that alternate, I'll take that alternate, I want some fries with that, delicious. Number 4. Darkseid. Darkseid was born on the planet Apocalypse and was originally known as Prince Euxus, second son to the king and queen of the planet. Despite being second in line, the prince aspired to one day rule the planet. He murdered his own brother to seize more power, taking the name Darkseid afterwards, and eventually killed his own mother for poisoning his love Sully. His whole story is very Shakespearean and very Greek tragedy, complete with a prophecy that one of his sons would one day defeat him in battle. Darkseid is often presented as the enemy of the Justice League. He killed half of the Amazonians in Themyscira when they refused to help him overthrow the Olympian gods. He has always been obsessed with control and power, so much so that he pursued the anti-life equation, which grants its owner full control over those who are exposed to it, stripping the victims of their free will. That's what Darkseid is into. He's like, no free will. Do what I say. It's like a really bossy parent. That's Darkseid. Number 3. Thanos. Similar to DC's Darkseid in many ways. Born an Eternal on his home planet, Titan, Thanos would grow up to be a fearsome disappointment to his parents, especially his mother, whom he would eventually end up killing. Thanos was always pulled towards evil and darkness, even from a young age, as he became obsessed with a love of death. His love of Mistress Death, who usually appears as a concept in sexy lady form in the comics, would drive him to kill entire worlds in her honor, causing him to be known as the Destroyer of Worlds. As a result, the Mad Titan is often categorized as being one of the greatest threats in the comic book world, often perceived as an almost unstoppable force, and it is only when all the heroes of the cosmos or of Earth come together that they even stand a chance in stopping him, though he has killed them all before even, so there you go. In Volume 2 of the Thanos series, he managed to wipe out everyone in the universe, save for a Mjolnir-wielding Silver Surfer, though he eventually killed him too, so Thanos is one of those inevitable villains. He's always gonna show up, he's always gonna kill everyone. But don't worry, you'll all come back, it'll be fine. Number 2. Doomsday. Doomsday is one of those villains I almost feel bad for. He can't help himself. He originated on prehistoric Krypton and was created through a series of evolutionary experiments conducted by Bertrand. Have you ever noticed how evolution-based scientists always tend to be bad news? Like, they're all evil, what's up with that? Bertrand basically kept cloning the same deceased baby's remains after its death to speed up the evolutionary process of their genes, causing them to adapt slightly with each death. Because comics. The result ended up being Doomsday, who eventually was able to resurrect himself after each death he suffered just on his own. And due to dying so many times and being experimented on and tortured throughout his genetic history, he grew to hate life. It is this hatred that has made him such a ferocious enemy, as all he often wants to do is kill and destroy. He eventually made his way to Earth after falling through a tear in space-time, terrorizing a planet for years, and after being thought dead was shot out into space. And he landed on Earth. True story. Number 1. Galactus. This hungry supervillain is so ingrained in the existence of the universe that we once learned in an alternate universe that eliminating him in the comics had actually been a bad idea, prompting Franklin Richards to take his place. Galactus was once a scientist known as Galen, trying to save his home world from the end of, well, not just their world, but the entire universe. Sadly, he realized that resistance was futile, and he and the rest of his people decided to accept their fate and instead fly into their own doom. Miraculously, Galen survived and found himself chosen. Probably felt pretty bad about that. He was granted with great cosmic power, but with it came great hunger, causing him to eventually become the devourer of worlds we so famously know him as. Number 10. Medusa. Medusa is known as being the wife of Black Bolt, or one of the wives, but she's kind of the main one. The one Black Bolt really relies on when it comes to helping him rule the Inhumans. She and Black Bolt are basically the king and queen of the Inhuman city of Attilan. She is able to speak to her husband telepathically, but this is not where her powers lie. Her strength comes from her fighting skills and her trichokinesis powers, which allow her to control her hair and use her hair strands as a weapon. Hair fighting. Medusa's hair is super strong and can also be manipulated as though it were a whip. We've seen her use it like a rope to restrain people, reinforce herself, and to lift other things. Add in the fact that Medusa is quite skilled when it comes to wielding her terrifyingly long and powerful locks, and she can prove to be a mighty enemy in battle. Number 9. Star-Lord. Star-Lord in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is known for being half Terran or human and half living planet, I guess? We learn in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that Star-Lord, aka Peter Quill, is actually the son of Ego, the living planet. However, in the comics, Star-Lord's dad is someone else entirely, although Peter still remains half alien by birth due to his father's identity. In the comics, Peter Quill is the son of Jason of Spartax, a prince of Spartax whose father was the Emperor. At one point, in fact, Peter would end up ruling Spartax after his girlfriend at the time, Kitty Pryde, used her powers enhanced by the Black Vortex to save the planet. Peter grew up not knowing of his true heritage, as Jason had erased his mother's memories of ever meeting his father to spare her the pain of him leaving, not knowing that they had conceived a child together.
You are the father!
But even without knowledge of his heritage, Peter has always been pretty spacey, often known for being the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy team. Number 8. Novar. Novar is also known as Marvel Boy. He is a Kree from the alternate reality of Earth 2000. So many zeros. He is a Kree from the alternate reality of Earth 200080. He was one of the crewmates aboard the Marvel, a ship whose crew was tasked with a peacekeeping mission aiming to maintain a ceasefire between the Kree and Skrull of their reality. After finding their ship was lost in the multiverse, they ended up being shot down and crash landed on Earth 616's Earth. Novar was the sole survivor of the crash. Originally, Novar blamed all humans for the death of his crew and his parents, who were also aboard. However, over time, the other heroes were able to convince him to abandon his quest for revenge and join them instead in protecting the planet. Eventually, he would come to be an ally and member of the Young Avengers. He is a hero who is known for his intelligence, especially when it comes to Kree tech, his fighting skills, speed, durability, and strength. He also has been known to use equipment such as Plex, the knowledgeable living database that once belonged to his ship, and his own set of negabands, given to him by the Supreme Intelligence. Number 7. Wraith. Zach Dell in truth is really more anti-hero than full-out hero, but he's super cool and we don't talk about him enough, so I'm willing to extend the reaches of the parameters of this list to include him. Zach Dell was Kree-born but ended up being estranged from his family after they were killed by a Kree death squad, led by a mysterious figure. He himself at least was not murdered, but instead was propelled outward into space, left drifting helplessly. Eventually he ran into a subspace of the Kree who had become trapped in a wormhole wormhole and exposed to space parasites known as the Exelon. These Kree called themselves the Nameless. They stabbed Zach Dell upon finding him so that he too would be exposed to the Exelon and also become one of the Nameless. He hasn't always been bonded to the Exelon, but while bonded, received enhanced strength, energy manipulation, the ability to inspire intense fear in his opponents, and regenerative capabilities. Wraith even managed to use his powers to make the Phalanx feel fear, which is pretty impressive. Number 6. Moondragon. Moondragon was once a human girl known as Heather Douglas. After being nearly killed by Thanos, who had come across her and her family while they were driving out in the desert, she was rescued by Mentor. Seeking to make amends for his son's murderous ways, he took Heather to Titan and gave her to the Shaolin monks to be brought up. There, she would grow into the powerful telepathic and telekinetic hero known as Moondragon. Heather's father would also survive this attack by being reborn as the being known as Drax the Destroyer. Moondragon has been shown to possess telepathic strength great enough to possess millions of people at once, and can deliver a mind blast strong enough to take out the Hulk. Number 5. Black Bolt. Black Bolt is the king and ruler of the Inhumans. You might be wondering why I even included him and his wife Medusa on this list. How are Inhumans spacey, you might wonder? Well, not only have Inhumans been involved in various different galactic matters involving various planets and empires, but for a time they actually called space their home, with their city of Attilan residing in the blue area of the moon. Black Bolt himself is known for being one of the most powerful of the Inhumans. Through Terrigenesis, he unlocked the power of his voice. The speech center in his brain gives him the power to harness electrons using his voice, which basically means he can blow you apart with a shout or blow you away with a whisper. Black Bolt himself is also a modicum telepathic and uses his telepathic powers to communicate with others like Medusa and to shield himself from psychic attack. Number 4. Miss America. America Chavez is super spacey. Just listen to her origin story. She comes from a place known as the Utopian Parallel, a place out of space and time, an alternate world that was in essence created by Wiccan, who here is known as the Demiurge. She was raised by two mothers, Amalia and her wife Elena Chavez. Her mothers sacrificed themselves to save their home, sealing up black holes that threatened its existence. As a result, the Utopian Parallel ended up being sucked into the Marvel multiverse. Inspired by her mother's sacrifice, America Chavez ran away from her home, confident that it would be safe without her, and set out to save other worlds in other dimensions, traveling through space and time. America Chavez may have grown up on Utopian Parallel, but she is also a member or descendant of the Furtonas, a humanoid alien race created by two deities in love with one another. As such, she has powers from both worlds, possessing super strength, speed, invulnerability, and the abilities to create multi-dimensional portals, manipulate energy, and fly. Number 3. Smasher. Isabel Kane was originally a normal human living on a farm in Iowa, but one day she came across the exospecs of a Smasher. Smashers are members of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. They look like humans but are aliens who use exospecs, a set of goggles, to grant themselves powers and enhance their abilities. Izzy would be granted powers like superhuman strength, speed, and durability, as well as the ability to fly, and do so at hyper speed when needed. She would later leave Earth, traveling to the Shi'ar Empire and joining the Imperial Guard. Later on, when she returned to Earth, she would be recruited by Captain America to join the Avengers. Number 2. Thor. That's right! Thor can actually be considered a cosmic hero.
I'm very protective of the humans because they're so helpless and ridiculous.
Well, he can be considered a godly hero too, but it turns out those categories are not always mutually exclusive. In fact, there are many instances where they go hand in hand with characters. Thor himself is from Asgard, but Asgard itself is actually located in outer space. Unlike Earth, it's not round, but more flat. In fact, the 10 realms are believed to be located potentially in alternate dimensions. Asgard, Alfheim, Nidavellir, and Vanaheim are all believed to be part of the same dimension. When wielding Mjolnir, Thor is considered one of the most powerful heroes around. He can use his hammer to destroy mountains, moons, and easily demolish important Earth landmarks and monuments, such as the Great Pyramids and the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Number 1. Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer is one of the most powerful cosmic beings around. He does his best to be a hero while also often being known for serving his master Galactus as a herald. He's probably one of the most heroic heralds, to be honest. He gets his powers from his master Galactus, who imbued him with the power Cosmic after he agreed to serve him in exchange for Galactus sparing the Silver Surfer's homeworld, which Galactus was about to devour. However, in becoming a herald, Norrin Rad, as he was formerly known, also lost a part of himself, being unable to remember much of his past life before becoming the Silver Surfer. He has used his power in the past both to disrupt all technology and electricity in the world, turning off all of its power, and has also used his power to save the world, preventing it from being destroyed by binding his cosmic soul to the planet's core. Number 10. Crystal. Honestly, Crystal does not get enough appreciation and acknowledgement here, so I figured since Inhumans are technically considered to be cosmic and all, what with them living for a time on the blue area of the moon where their home of Attilan was moved to, and often getting involved in cosmic intergalactic conflicts, I figured why not use this opportunity to talk about Crystal, her powers and abilities, and why they are so cool. While Crystal might not have access to an avatar state, she basically has all of the skills and abilities of the avatar. She can control and manipulate the 4 elements on a molecular level, controlling oxygen to make fire spontaneously appear. She can combine hydrogen and oxygen to create water or rain. She can manipulate the movement of air. She can cause earthquakes to happen, and has even on occasion managed to affect the position of tectonic plates. The limits of her powers lie in the amount of area or volume of an element that she can control at one time. Also, using her powers does tend to wear her out, so she's really best at performing in shorter battles or ones that are not as demanding on her abilities. Still, even though she is often overshadowed by her sister Medusa and often her brother-in-law as well, Black Bolt, her abilities are still pretty impressive. Number 9. Night Mask. Night Mask is also known as Adam Blackveil, or sometimes just Blackveil. He was the first being created by Ex Nihilo, one of the gardeners who worked alongside the Builders to create new and perfect life throughout the galaxy, and refurbishing existing beings, transforming them into something better. Considered to be a perfect being, Night Mask has powers which allow him to teleport from anywhere to anywhere else in space, even potentially moving through or to alternate worlds, by creating portals and utilizing the extra-dimensional place known as the Superflow to cover vast distances. The Superflow is basically like the space between universes, where concepts and dreams are said to originate. Kind of like a cosmic shortcut, if you will. He can also communicate with almost any technological device and bend that device to his will, reprogramming it easily to serve his own purpose. Night Mask also has the ability to use his energy halos to emit blasts of destructive energy, so he's not too shabby in a fight neither. Number 8. Mar-Vell. Mar-Vell was not only powerful for the tech he wielded, but he also has had a wealth of powers that have seemed to surface and then weirdly disappear over time. He has used his Unibeam, worn and been strengthened and protected by Negabands, and has various other gadgets that he's able to utilize in battle. He's been shown to be fast enough to dodge bullets and has increased strength while on Earth due to Earth's gravitational pull being less intense than what he's used to. He's also had his powers enhanced over the years, now and then making him insanely powerful, like when he was protector of the universe and also had cosmic awareness. Is that how gravity works? If the pull is less, you're stronger, right? Because you're used to on your world like having to fight gravity. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Science. Number 7. Hulkling. Hulkling has both a Kree and Skrull heritage and background, being the son of Skrull Princess Anel and Kree hero Mar-Vell. He was spirited away when he was young in order to ensure he was protected and hidden on Earth, where he was raised by his foster mother, Mary Jo Altman, from whom he gets his surname. Theodore, or Teddy Altman, grew up to become a shape-shifting hero who was not aware of his true lineage until later in his life. He is not only super strong and durable due to his enhanced physiology, but he also has a healing factor and can shapeshift, even giving himself wings, which then he can use to fly with. Recently in the Empire event, Hulkling was also given the power of Excelsior, an ancestral space sword imbued with cosmic power, which was bestowed upon him when he became the Emperor of the Alliance, Emperor Dorak VIII. Number 6. Carol Danvers. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Carol has been established as one of the most powerful heroes that we have. She took a straight up headbutt from Thanos while trying to hold him off while he was wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, and she didn't even really blink during that at all. craziness. Now in the comics, Carol is not quite as powerful, but she's still proven her strength and toughness time and time again. She's taken on the Hulk, managed to withstand a direct energy blast from Thanos, and even when she struggled to use her powers due to a tumor in her brain, she still fought to use her super strength, managing to lift up an entire subway train without really much effort. And in case you're wondering, that tumor was kind of trying to dampen her powers. In fact, she could have killed herself by using her powers or flying at the time. Carol is also a skilled pilot and tactician, and although she's right-handed, you definitely still wouldn't want her to get you with her left hook. Even though she admits her left arm isn't as strong as her dominant right, she can still hit you so hard you'll fly from planet Earth to space if you manage to survive that hit, and if you can even survive in space, which I can't, so I would be dead. Number 5. Starbrand. Kevin Connor was just a normal human college kid when, during the White event, he received the power of Starbrand. This surge of power caused him to destroy the college that he attended and got him the attention of the Avengers, Nightmask, and Captain Universe. Starbrand would later travel with Nightmask to see his creator Ex Nihilo, who would then help to explain what had happened to Kevin and how best to handle these new powers. With the power of the Starbrand, Kevin received virtually limitless energy-based powers, which increased Kevin's strength and endurance. He was also able to project energy blasts, manipulate energy, and even manipulate matter at a quantum level. Number 4. Ronan. Ronan doesn't just happen to have his Kree physiology, this often Kree hero also has had himself leveled up in terms of his physiology due to cybernetic implants, and he has even had his power levels upped by an interaction with the Black Vortex Mirror, which often unlocks one's potential even after the user has relinquished the powers that were imbued by it. The awesome thing about Ronan is that he's not only super strong, durable, and fast, but he's also quite intelligent. Sure, he hasn't always been a hero, but when he does work with and for the good guys, he is a powerhouse. And even when he's considered more of a villain, he is still often respected by fellow supers, no matter their alignment. Fun fact, while Ronan has actually fought against the Inhumans in the past, he has also for a time allied himself with them, and he even married and was in love with the Inhuman Crystal, who we talked about earlier. I actually really like them together. I think they're cute. Number 3. Gladiator. Gladiator is known for being a prominent member of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. He himself is a citizen of the Shi'ar Empire who has been shown to be powerful enough to defeat Thanos in a fight. The thing about Gladiator, aka Kalark, is that his confidence increases his power levels. If he's confident enough, his strength and speed can become almost limitless in terms of power levels, also making him near invulnerable to taking damage as well, strengthening his durability. He has been shown to be powerful enough to take down the Thing, and has even managed to explode and destroy planets with the force of his blows. Now that is some super strength. Number 2. Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill never gets enough love and respect, so it is time to give him some. Beta Ray Bill is a Corbinite who was chosen to be his people's champion. As such, he was transformed into a cybernetic being which enhanced his physiology. Originally, Bill started out as a nemesis to Thor, who Bill believed was a threat to the Corbinites that Bill himself was responsible for protecting. The two fought in a battle for who would get to keep Thor's hammer, following Bill managing to claim the hammer and defeat Thor in combat. Bill also actually won that trial, but in the end, Odin decided Thor could actually have his hammer back and instead forged a new hammer called Stormbreaker for Bill. Following this, Bill would work with the Asgardians and grow close to them, befriend Lady Sif, Thor, and others. His strength is said to match Thor's, and he is known for being superhumanly fast and durable. He's also virtually immortal when it comes to how long he could survive for, based on the fact that he's kind of a cyborg. Number 1. Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is a perfect being who was created by a group of researchers known as the Enclave. After he was born, he was also taken in and given motivation by the Soul Stone by the High Evolutionary. Technically, Warlock's potential is infinite, as following each rebirth cycle he has a tendency to become more and more powerful and can even develop new powers during as needed. Adam Warlock has intense cosmic awareness, has been telepathic, is capable of energy and matter manipulation, and is considered to be super strong, durable, fast, and even immortal due to the sheer, indomitable strength of his soul.
Number 10. Ronan the Accuser. Making his debut in Fantastic Four number 65 back in 1967, Ronan the Accuser has been seen in live-action films as a villain in Guardians of the Galaxy, and now even Captain Marvel, played by the lovely Lee Pace. But who is this hammer-wielding big bad blue guy? Well, born on the planet Hala, Ronan was appointed by Supreme Accuser. Ronan was appointed Supreme Accuser of the Kree Empire by the Supreme Intelligence. He is second in command and is in charge of enforcing laws of the Kree. Since joining the Kree, Public Accuser Corps has done quite well, I'd say. So this hammer that he carries is known as the Universal Weapon. So minutes after his first appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy, we see him use this hammer on a Nova Corpsman. It's pretty fast, it's pretty violent too. This guy's fearless. He's a fearless leader, and I wish we saw more of him in the MCU. He is a Kree, so he obtains the abilities of resistance to poisons, toxins, diseases, and was even granted pocket universe creation abilities from the Black Vortex. See, once he obtains the Black Vortex, it's game over. Ronan was able to take on Gamora, Beast, and Angel while they had all submitted to its powers. The Supreme Intelligence told Ronan not to do the same, but he used the power from the Black Vortex to fight back. And he did so quite successfully, I'd say. Number 9. Hela. Making her debut in Journey into Mystery issue 102, Hela, aka the Goddess of Death, was the big bad villain in Thor Ragnarok, played by the lovely Cate Blanchett. Hela is the oldest of Odin's children, so you know she's gonna have a few tricks up her sleeve. She was Odin's personal executioner, and if that wasn't badass enough, she rides a giant wolf. In Thor Ragnarok, one of the biggest reveals that was shown in the trailer, for some odd reason, was her breaking Thor's hammer with her bare hands. Well, hand, rather. Yeah, she doesn't play around. Hela is a reference to Norse mythology, the goddess of the dead, Hel. So, when somebody dies in battle, they're sent to Valhalla by Odin's Valkyries. But when a dishonorable soul dies, it stays in the body until Hela comes around and condemns it with her, boop, touch of death. She doesn't even have to wait until you die either. She can just kill a perfectly healthy Asgardian with just that little boop of death. Do I think we'll see more of her in the MCU? Yeah, I also hope so. I don't think they're gonna kill off that good of a character just like that. At least not yet, hopefully. Hopefully we see more of her in Thor Love and Thunder. Number 8. Dormammu. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. That line from Doctor Strange helped us understand just how powerful the Lord of Chaos is in the MCU to defeat. Making his first appearance in Strange Tales number 126, Dormammu is the Lord of the Dark Dimension. He's primarily a villain to Doctor Strange, which shouldn't come as a surprise to those who have seen the 2016 Doctor Strange movie, directed by Scott Derrickson. In the last battle of the movie, we see Stephen Strange using time as a negotiation method. He's arguably the strongest villain in the MCU. He's been around for thousands of years, seeing as he's, immortal and all. He's composed of pure mystic energy and can match the greatest sorcerers, like of course Doctor Strange and the Ancient One. He controls an army called the Mindless Ones, and is even more powerful in the Dark Dimension, being empowered by his followers, of course. With Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness being announced, I have a feeling we're going to see this mystical entity again very soon on the big screen. Number 7. Thanos. You know who this guy is, come on. We first saw him in the after credit scene of Avengers 1 and 2, and then we saw him sitting down in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we saw him snap away half of all life of the universe in Avengers Infinity War. The Mad Titan first made his comic book debut back in Iron Man issue 55. Funny enough, Robert Downey Jr. is actually 55 years old. Coincidence? Yes, definitely, most definitely. Hands down, not coincidence. So, we all know how powerful Thanos is with the Infinity Gauntlet, but if you haven't seen the movies, I'll touch briefly on those. But without the Gauntlet, Thanos is still a villain you don't want to mess with. Born on Saturn's moon, Titan, both of his parents were Eternals, and due to the genetic disorder known as the Deviant Syndrome, his mother actually tried to kill him at first sight. That's just mean. I mean, don't do that. I mean, he got payback when he killed his entire family just to impress Death, so, kind of fair. Oh yeah, he's also in love with Death. Like the actual death. In the opening of Avengers Infinity War, we see Thanos level the Hulk without even using a single Infinity Stone. That's how strong this guy is. But once he obtains all 6 Infinity Stones, he has control over each stone's cosmic powers, those being soul, time, power, reality, space, and mind. And after that, he snapped his fingers and half of all of life disappeared. In the comics, he does this to get the attention of Death, but in the movie he does it to be a savior. Too many mouths to feed, not enough to go around, he says. Hey man, just snap some food for people, I don't know, or snap some more planets with more stuff. Just an idea, I don't know. Number 6. Venom. Now, of course, I'm going to include the Clintar, specifically the one that attached itself to Eddie Brock. Making his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man 252, Venom was initially attached to Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. The Clintar symbiote was made by the Dark Elder God, Null. We mentioned Null in part 1 of this list, so if you haven't already, make sure you go and check that out after this video. A little part 2, then part 1. I see ya, you're going backwards. Living life on the edge. So Eddie Brock got fired from the Daily Globe after Spider-Man called him out. Eddie Brock, who also had cancer, sad little side note there, he got pissed. And as you saw in Spider-Man 3, he eventually bonded with the symbiote at the Bell Tower. Then it was all downhill from there. We are Venom to become one. So naturally, they both wanted to go and try and kill Spider-Man. Imagine having a fully sentient being merge with you. I think I'd be on board. Hey, touch this and you'll basically be Spider-Man. Okay, done, no problem. Say no more, sir. This symbiote is also able to cling onto other beings and bond with other superpowers. That's crazy. Its weaknesses are only heat and loud vibrations. I personally would kill for this cosmic power. Absorb me all. Take me, Venom. Number 5, the Skrull Empire. They made their comic book debut in Fantastic Four issue 2 back in 1962, and they made their Marvel Cinematic debut only last year in Captain Marvel. But who are the Skrulls? Well, they're a race of shapeshifters from the Andromeda Galaxy. They look like green humans, kind of, a bit more lizard-like. Except much more powerful and ferocious, that is. They lived on the homeworld of Skrullos in the Druk system. I loved watching these guys in Captain Marvel. It was nice to see the villains relate in a human way, like on a human level. So usually we have these giant evil gods or insane robots, but to see the villains of that movie end up just wanting the same chances of survival as humans, that's a classic. So yeah, they're expert shapeshifters. They can transform into pretty much anything organic or non-organic, as long as it's solid. Can't be water. They can't just, shapeshift into a Gatorade and then call it a day. They have similar abilities as Mr. Fantastic. They can make their limbs stretch out. They can't adapt to superpowers unless you're a Super Skrull. The Skrull-Kree War. Ooh, that's gonna be a lot of K's there. The Skrull-Kree War is the most notable. It was one of the central plots for Captain Marvel. I have a feeling we're gonna see more Skrulls in the MCU. I just hope that they don't use it to do whatever they want with any plot, if you feel me. Like Nick Fury at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. That was a fun little moment. Anything else too crazy might just kind of undo what we've done so far. I don't know. Number 4, the Magus. Making his comic book debut in New Mutants issue 18, the Magus is a powerful enemy of Adam Warlock. He travels alongside Thanos in the Guardians of the Galaxy comic books, and in one of the many after-credit scenes for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Adam Warlock's name was briefly mentioned. Very brief. So hopefully we get this badass dude on screen soon, because Magus is originally a future version of Adam Warlock. So to see the two go at it with an actor who has this crazy range would be super entertaining. And after Adam Warlock obtained the Infinity Gauntlet, he cleansed himself of all good and evil. And this created an evil version of himself. Almost like in that movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise. It would be one guy playing both. So good. Or Captain America versus Captain America. Whatever you prefer. So we have the future Magus, right? He's the original older Magus, and he travels to the past to guide his younger self. So he ends up becoming where he is. Makes sense? Got it? Okay. Adam Warlock comes in and traps evil Magus in the Soul Gem, which is what I was hoping to see in Endgame, to be honest. I wanted to see everybody in the Soul World, and it would have been nice if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 kept to its original release date, and then maybe we could have had some more Adam Warlock stuff in the picture by now, answering more questions that we still have about the Infinity Stones in the MCU, especially the Soul Stone. Number 3, the Celestials. Making their first appearance in Eternals issue 1 back in 1976, the Celestials have been seen many times in the MCU and many more in the comics. There were actually billions of Celestials until a weapon known as the God Killer took most of them out. They are powerful extraterrestrial cosmic beings. We saw one of them wipe out a planet in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. They are the ones who created the Eternals and the Deviants. So these space gods are around 1,000 feet tall, give or take. We even see the inside of one of their heads when Thanos gets the Reality Stone in Infinity War. It's called Nowhere, it's that big floating head. The first celestial host arrived to Earth 1 million or so years ago when they created the Eternals and the Deviants, but later on, they were the reasoning behind the existence of mutants, creating the mutant gene. Yeah, so they're pretty important, I'd say. The second host on Earth sunk Atlantis, so a bit less fun than that first one there. Then the third one got into a fight with the sky gods because it wanted the right to toy around with humans. So they aren't exactly the most chill entities out there, I guess. Despite being these all-powerful gods, they still need to wear armor just like the rest of us. Armor that is equipped with the tools needed to successfully wipe out an entire planet. Not just like a tape measure, you know? Now all this power, but where does it come from? Well, after Reed Richards' son almost gets turned into a Celestial, he was determined to find that answer out himself. Reed concludes that the Celestials are drawing power from extra-dimensional sources like pocket universes or even hyperspace. So they just come along to Earth every now and then, check out how we're doing, and then either destroy all of us or give a couple of us powers. I'll be waiting outside in an open field after this video is done. I'll also be waiting for the Celestials to come and judge me and give me super speed or super length, something else, you know, something cool. Or like a lot of money. I'm good with either of those. Number 2, Kang the Conqueror. Also known as Nathaniel Richards, Kang the Conqueror is actually already cast in the live-action MCU. Air horns. Jonathan Majors is joining the cast of Ant-Man 3 to play the hyped character. But who is Kang? Well, making his first appearance in Avengers issue 8 back in 1964, Kang has seen many centuries. His powers allow him to travel through time, and his futuristic suit of armor is built with weapons that could take on any super. He's also incredibly smart and of course travels with armies as backup. These armies are built in a similar fashion sense, each warrior equipped with the same armory and weaponry. The time travel stuff doesn't come without consequence though, so as Kang travels more and more through time, he creates time-displaced duplicates. As we saw in Avengers Endgame, it can be tricky to figure that out. I think this is a perfect time to introduce a time-hopping villain, especially for Ant-Man, who's now a big-time Avenger who's been around the quantum block a few times. So what do you guys think will be Kang's goal in Ant-Man 3? How do you guys think he's going to be written into this current MCU run? Honestly, I think after WandaVision and the Multiverse of Madness, Kang's going to end up trying to clean the timelines up, just as the Avengers did, but he'll be laying waste to any Avenger that stands in his way. And finally, number 1, Mad Jim Jaspers. Yes, lastly we have James Jaspers' unreal name. He made his debut in Daredevil's number 7 in 1983. This dude's nuts. So he was this British politician who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, okay? He was a leader of the Conservative Party. He was known for his anti-superhero stance because he wanted to keep Britain safe, okay? So of course many people were with him and he won the general election. But old Jim Jaspers was more than meets the eye. He's actually a mutant with reality warping powers. And these type of mutants scare me. So he's representing Haslop West. He even gets knighted by Queen Elizabeth. So he creates this strike team whose job it is pretty much to gather up all of the superheroes. The slogan on all of his posters says, "In your hearts, you know he's right." Yeah, in my heart, I know he's kind of a psycho. The main bread and butter of the capabilities of Jim Jaspers takes place in the Marvel UK storyline titled Crooked World. So if you want to see the reality warping that Jim's capable of in full force, go check that out for yourself. Also, I'm calling it right now. Jim Jaspers will be introduced in WandaVision and will be a secret villain pulling the strings in some way, shape, or form. I'm calling it. It's noted. That's it. Check the date, the timestamps. It's all there. Official.
Starting us off in at number 10, Terrax. Originally known as Tyros, he started as a dictator of Landlac in a solar system around 80,000 light years from Earth. He maintained control using his power over rock. In essence, this guy was a more advanced earthbender, being able to animate figures out of stone that would patrol the kingdom, maintaining his order and rule. However, this wouldn't last forever, since Galactus was seeking a new herald to guide him towards his next dinner buffet. Galactus had also finally learned that you shouldn't have good guys find you worlds to destroy. So when the Fantastic Four asked Galactus for help against the Sphinx, his only condition to help was if the Fantastic Four subdued Tyros for him. They did, and Tyros was exposed to the cosmic power of Galactus and turned him into Terrax the Tamer. His control over stone was improved tenfold, and he could nearly control a whole planet of stone at once. In addition to this, he was granted the Cosmic Axe, which was capable of generating waves of cosmic force. Terrax was nuts, even beginning to wipe out worlds before Galactus got there, even at times defying Galactus' wishes, which is pretty ballsy if you ask me. I mean, like, that's what you get for hiring a bad guy though, I guess.
Number 9, Umar. Umar is the sister of Dormammu and is basically on a similar level to her brother. She has a great knowledge of magical lore which she can use to do a vast number of things. She also is capable of teleportation and time travel. And you know how I feel about teleporters, they are pretty OP in my opinion. Same basically with any person, hero or villain who can manipulate time. Umar often allies herself with her brother even though he hasn't always treated her great. great. I don't think Dormammu will be winning any Brother of the Year awards is all I'm saying. She has also been shown to be more powerful than Doctor Strange even, on occasion. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list as much as I love all of the things that are cosmic, cosmic things, they're so great, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. I think that was a sentence that made sense.
And at 8, Ego. Introduced in Thor number 132 in 1966, Ego was created when a mysterious being known as the Stranger visited his home star in order to conduct an experiment. A scientist by the name of Egros started work on a way to save his race from the nova that experiment had left inevitable. The night of the explosion, Egros had his race move into the bunkers he had set up at the planet's core, but the star exploded sooner than they had planned. So in an attempt to save his own life, he tried to reach the underground vault, but failed. However, Egros was merged with every living thing destroyed by that sun, including his people. This created Ego, the living planet. Considering how this guy is literally a living planet, I think it's safe to say why he's on this list, especially when he was able to hold his own against Galactus. Yeah, a few months after a battle with Thor, Galactus discovered Ego and instantly attacked. Understandably. Ego in his defense created a shield of solid clouds and began to fight back, attempting to strangle Galactus with tentacles. I feel like I've seen that video before. Either way, anyone able to hold their own against Galactus is well deserving to be on this list.
Number 7. Dormammu. Dormammu recently actually came out on top against Ego in a battle, and in certain conditions possesses limitless power. Dormammu is part mystical and part cosmic in terms of what kind of villain he is, but make no mistake that he is not out of his element in outer space at all. Dormammu has battled against Odin and has even threatened to end the Celestials before, who are like super cosmic, claiming that he will be the one to destroy the extremely powerful beings. I think we're still waiting for that to happen, but I believe. Not only has Dormammu threatened the existence of Earth before, like we saw in the MCU, but in the comics he has threatened the entire universe and even entire reality of Earth 616 before. So that's the kind of level that he's generally on. There's like other villains, and then there's Dormammu.
And at 6, Michael Korvac. Being first introduced in Giant Size Defenders number 3 in 1975, Michael Korvac's father was killed due to events surrounding his birth in 2977. He was raised by his mother, but when the solar system he lived in on Earth 691 and its colonies became the target for the Brotherhood of Badoon, Michael became a traitor and helped the Brotherhood. However, after a few moments of hesitation later on, he was cut in half and fused with his computer by the Brotherhood, turning him into basically a cyborg. But this seemed to do more harm than good for the Brotherhood, since now Korvac was dead set on killing those who did this to him, at least until the Grandmaster teleported him to battle Doctor Strange and the Defenders. Korvac intentionally lost the battle and instead siphoned some of the Grandmaster's power using his new cybernetic abilities, making him even more powerful than before. Eventually, this guy ended up impersonating Kang the Conqueror and the Watcher, and with his ability to siphon power from others, this makes him one of the scariest villains in the Marvel Universe, at least if he was smart about it and didn't go and get himself killed multiple times.
Number 5. The Builders. The Builders ended up being an insanely massive threat when they first showed up on the scene. They were destroyers of worlds, flying around completely wiping out all life on planets, and threatening some of the greatest empires in the cosmos. Although, originally they were kind of more like creators of life and planets, but I digress. In order to defeat the Builders, thought to be the oldest race of beings in the universe, Earth's heroes were compelled to join forces with the galaxy's other superpowers, including the Shi'ar Empire, the Kree, the Skrulls, Spartax, and more. It took an intergalactic army to even stand a chance against the Builders, and even then, that chance initially seemed pretty bleak, pretty slim. Captain Universe, who is said to have created the Builders, joined the fight against them, and eventually all worlds rose up and united and were able to defeat them. Later on, an even greater cosmic threat, the Beyonders, who we really need to talk about on a part 2 for this list actually, destroyed the Builders. The Beyonders are pretty crazy.
Getting close to the end, and in number 4, Amatsu Mikaboshi. To the Shinto religion in Japan, Amatsu Mikaboshi is the god of evil, chaos, and the stars, a primordial being who was imprisoned in the Shinto underworld, known as Yomi, for all eternity. Fun. First introduced in Thor Blood Oath number 6 in 2006, this guy is an absolute beast. Just look at him. This thing is my sleep paralysis demon. Mikaboshi fought against the Demogorge for control of literally the universe, and that's not even a joke. This guy was going to wipe out an entire race of interdimensional beings known as the Kami, just to get a sword known as the Grass Cutter. Yeah, the Grass Cutter was a sword of such great power it apparently was worth wiping out an entire race of people. Dude, just get a lawnmower. Mikaboshi existed before before the universe did, before the Big Bang, back when time didn't exist and when the universe was only darkness. He can take on anyone from Thor to even Olympian gods by using his extreme arsenal of powers like shape-shifting, bending matter, mystical energy blasts, you name it, this guy can probably do it, including absorbing the entire multiverse, because he nearly did that as well. He was less than 2% away, actually. So close.
Number 3. Magus. Magus is the evil version of Adam Warlock, and we all know how powerful Adam Warlock is. Magus, being his dark equivalent, is extremely dangerous and also has a willing army at his disposal in his own church that he created, the Universal Church of Truth, which isn't really as nice as it sounds at all. They would harshly purify any planets who refused to accept their offer to join them, exterminating all who resisted. Pretty awful stuff. Being that Magus is the negative side of Adam Warlock, he possesses all of his abilities and powers.
Penultimately, in at number 2, Thanos. I'm sure we all know about the Mad Titan, especially thanks to the MCU, but while Thanos' MCU counterpart was portrayed as a man wanting to help a dying universe, at least kind of, the comic version of Thanos had a much simpler objective: impress death! Thanos is the definition of insane, doing whatever it takes to impress Death and gain her affection, and this coupled with an insatiable hunger for power and control makes him quite the dom. From the Cosmic Cube to the Infinity Gems, Thanos' lust for power is never satiated, but even so, he doesn't want to destroy everything. I guess since if he did, there would be nothing left to rule, and no more death to impress his mistress. This causes him to even at times join forces with heroes when there's a bigger threat than himself, teaming up with Adam Warlock to stop Magus and the Goddess, and teaming up with the Guardians to stop the invasion of the Cancerverse, just to name a couple. So while he could kill most of us in a snap, at least we know some of us would survive, so that he could then dom us.
Number 1. Galactus. Galactus is obviously one of the greatest and most constant cosmic threats that the universe faces. He is a devourer of worlds whose bottomless hunger is what makes him such a feared antagonist, even though really Galactus himself isn't generally pretty neutral without his hunger. In fact, he's even been a force of good on a few occasions. Still, whichever side he's on at the time, which let's be honest, usually is considered to be the more villainous side simply because he needs to destroy worlds to continue surviving, he is not a villain you'd want to come up against, as not only do you have to face him, a massive cosmic giant wielding the extraordinary power cosmic, but you also usually have to deal with his heralds, who themselves can be a lot to handle, and also have a little bit of power cosmic.